this is a siren song for me to come to California, man. But I'm in Texas, man. We're gonna stay right there. We'll do it the hard way.
We were talking about how no state income tax in Texas, and he was telling me, he's like, they get you in the end.
Yeah, there's no way to not have taxes.
Well, there's some ways.
No. Well, yeah, some of your friends, right? Yeah.
Welcome to this episode of Bourbon of Proof, where we interview those who have been both successful at law and life. And today we are honored to have in, straight from Texas, Angel Reyes. What's up, brother? I thought you were supposed to hook 'em horns. You just did a piece. You do this?
I'm not from Texas. I lived there.
He's Puerto Rican, man.
But you got a little bit of a Texas draw now.
But I don't know. Anyone in Texas will tell you, no, you sound like you're a Yankee.
Really?
Believe me, people in Texas, they talk like, they got real Southern accents. And mine's kind of neutral.
I love it. And of course, Mauro Fiore Jr.,
Yes.
offices of Mauro
Fiore Legal.
Fiore Legal.
Fiore Legal. Yeah.
And his hat says send lawyers.
Guns, money.
Yeah.
Send lawyers, guns, money, and it's supposed to say strippers, but we ran out of room.
Well.
Did you wrap it around?
Probably a good thing.
Strippers are going to be on the back.
There you go. All right, probably a good thing.
So we always start off with the pour, and today we're doing a non-alcoholic episode. This is our first non-alcoholic gin that we've had on the show.
Man.
We've done, well, I think we might have done a gin once. With Jeff Dye, we did a gin, but we did other whiskeys with him. But this is,
But Jeff
I never
didn't
had this
drink
one.
either.
He didn't drink. So
Let's give it a go. All right?
give it
You
a
guys
go.
have
We'll see
probably
this.
already
Angel,
had
did you ever drink?
In my younger days, you guys have had probably a few little bourbons, so.
I mean, it is like
Yeah,
2:15 p.m.
I had a
so we
feeling. I
probably
was
had
hoping
10.
I'd come in here and you guys would be a little bit smashed, and we could really.
We're
have
getting
a
there.
little
You
fun.
just don't know yet.
We just have. We'll have
Can you give me a splash of soda in this?
Yeah.
So this is called Liar's Gin. I don't know. It was pretty good. They just called it
Wow.
Liars.
Yeah.
They did a good
It's
job
not
with
bad.
this. It's a dry gin. We'll see. Hey, give me some.
It's hard to tell.
I put some in there.
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
Some are better than others. I haven't found a good whiskey one that tastes
I
like
can
it.
tell you that this is a lot easier to drink than real gin.
Yeah.
It is.
doesn't have much
It's not
bite to it.
bad. No.
It just has a little bit of a fruity taste.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Oh man, this makes me feel worse than actually drinking gin.
Why don't you have it?
No, we're good.
All right. Well,
That's good. So AJ, you came in today. Do you fly in today?
I did.
They have a flight direct from
There's
Dallas
a direct
to
flight
Santa
from
Barbara.
Dallas, and
Really?
it landed in Santa Barbara around 12, and we got our luggage at 12:30, and got over here about 1.
Wow.
And so I've been here about a little over an hour.
But you're in California often.
I do come to California. I unfortunately.
This is a sore subject here, you're
I know
bringing.
that's
up.
we're leading
we're
into it, man. I want to
probably-
be able to talk. Yeah, we'll
look,
get right into it.
Our family's we used to come 5-6 times a year or even more if we could, but we had an unfortunate, just like another 14,000 people in Palisades and Malibu. Our house was part of the Palisades fire, and it's now down to the sand, and we're going to rebuild. We're on a beach with some other good people that some of you know.
Yeah, I mean, funny story.
Yeah.
I met Angel for the first time at NTL in Miami a couple months ago. He's sitting next to me for dinner. I don't know. He doesn't know me. I don't know him.
Yeah.
He says, I said, where are you from? He says, I'm Dallas, but I used to go to Malibu a lot. So I told him I'm from LA.
Yeah.
And I had a house in Malibu that burned down. I was like, oh shit, where was your house? Oh, it's on Las Flores Beach. Las Flores Beach. I said, do you know Gary Dordick? He's like, no, I don't know him. His house burned down too. And then I texted Gary. I said, Gary, what was your address? And it was like 29467.
Like 2 doors down.
And it was his house was right next door.
20946.
Wow.
Like literally 2 doors
So
down.
I hooked them up together, and now
Yeah.
they're working together to try
Yeah.
to rebuild.
Good.
And
He's been a huge help.
yeah.
That's,
Gary told me the other night, I don't give a fuck how much it costs. I'm rebuilding.
Yeah, I figured.
You should. I mean, it's going to be hard to rebuild there because the PCH is right there.
Oh, yeah.
But that's the best. Like we used to go there a bunch with over to
We
Gary's
go
house.
to Gary's house. It's beautiful, man.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's a sad thing, but we're all going to get through it,
But you were actually on a plane back, like you.
Yeah, we were evacuated that day, and I would have sworn on the ranch, if you will, no way, the beach has never burned. It's been 100+ years, and son of a gun, not just one beach, but 5 beaches ripped down, burned down. That
So
was
were
a
you
bummer.
watching the news like on the plane?
Well, so on the plane, no, but when we landed, it was 9:30-ish, and my daughter was on social, And she's like, Dad, that's PCH. Look, that's our house. Look, it's gone. Because we have 2 palm trees. And in fact, one of the most sort of viral photos early on that was going around the world was a photo with the sun setting in the west to the right of the photo and 2 skinny, half-burned 40-foot palm trees. Those were our palm trees.
Wow.
So they took that damn near in our like old, I guess garage. They were standing there on top of it, and that picture went around the world. And sometimes it made me sad. And right now I'm excited. I want to rebuild. I'm going to follow in the footsteps of some of my neighbors. They've gotten a little, they live out here, so they were further ahead in the process, and they've been incredibly helpful. They share everything, and with a little bit of luck, we're gonna have it back in a few years. So.
And and Bob, to even more like 6 degrees of separation now, everything's kind of intertwined. His place, he got it from Mike Pugh's.
Yeah, I got it from Pugh's.
Oh, I do know that house.
Yeah.
then.
Bob used to work for Mike Pugh's.
Yeah.
Well, no, I leased my first op when I went on my own.
Yeah,
I
he
leased an
owned
office from Mike
some
Pugh's.
commercial real estate.
And that's where Dordick started that office.
Yeah.
A lot of our
So
friends.
after
Yeah.
Pugh's passed away, he got it from Pugh's family.
Funny story. Well, rest in peace, Mr. Pugh's.
Great guy, Pugh's.
He
was a great guy.
he's a great lawyer, and what the hell? I'm going to spill the beans. The entire purchase price went to an African wildlife
yes.
sanctuary.
Well, everybody knew that. Pugh's,
Gave it
he
all
gave
away.
millions and millions of dollars to this African
Yeah.
sanctuary.
Now,
I didn't
good
know
for
that.
him.
The whole purchase price.
All
went
of it. All of it went to somewhere in Tanzania. I suspect it's getting put to good use.
there. Wow. I think you and Mauro are going to take a trip there so he could write off his
There you go.
giraffes.
Yeah,
that we've been
yeah,
talking
there you
about.
go.
I might
yeah.
try to bring a giraffe back in my suitcase.
A giraffe? Yeah, you have to shrink it. Maybe there's a way to do that.
For those of you that are watching or listening, Angel's firm in Dallas, you
big
guys
deal.
try a lot of cases that
We
people
do.
don't realize how many cases you try because you also do thousands of cases a year probably that you bring in.
We do. Yeah, we do. So, look, our firm has been around for 32 years. That's an overnight sensation, as they say, right? But since '94, I took the approach in Texas that in order to get fair value for our clients, that we'd be much better off filing lawsuits. And let me tell you, that was pioneering back then. It's not so much now. Now most people realize that to get paid right on a case, you got to file it. But we started filing in '94 and racked up 10 verdicts, 20 verdicts, 30 verdicts.
Wow.
Mind you, we're batting 500. I mean, make no mistake. Half the trials that we end up doing, because guess what? The defense knows this is one they want to try, right? So we go down there, we'll take a bullet, We have some cases that, we're like, okay, we're going to try it. But if they pay the limits, we don't try it because in Texas, if they pay the limits, there's no point in
bad
trying the
faith,
case,
yeah.
right? And so we're in this funny betwixt. We choose cases and we say to them, we're going to try it, and then they freaking pay the policy limits, right? Which is a good thing.
But
kind
after
of
making you spend a lot of money, make your client wait for it.
but that's okay. I mean, we don't mind. We're pretty fast. We can get to a trial in certain counties in Texas, Harris County, which is Houston, Dallas County, which is Dallas, Collin County, which is like Plano, McKinney, Tarrant County, which is Fort Worth, and the bigger urban counties, you can get to trial in 18 months. So from the day you file, not from the day of the crash. I mean, so what we try to do is accelerate when we file. So if we know, for instance, that you have a positive MRI and that you've had some pain management, even if it's just a report saying you're going to need it, but especially if you've had any kind of injections, even facet injections, we will immediately file your case before you're done treating. That kind of compresses. It doesn't go into 30 months. Now it's 19, 20 months from the date of the crash. And we're working on that. That's one of our big objectives this year. We're calling it our crash to close timeline. We're really trying to shrink the days, weeks, and months that it takes to get the result.
But is it because I'm licensed in Texas, we have an office there too, and it's much different in California to Texas. Much different.
I've heard.
It's like it's harder to resolve because the laws just aren't as favorable on the bad faith laws and some other things. So
This
it's
is
just
this is a siren song for me to come to California, man. But I'm in Texas, man. We're gonna stay right there.
We
we'll
had this
do it the hard
conversation
way.
before.
We'll do it the hard way.
We were talking about how no state income tax in Texas. Of course, California much different. We pay a lot of taxes here. And he was telling me, he's like, they get you in the end.
Yeah, there's no way to not have taxes.
Well, there's some ways.
No. Well, yeah, some of your friends, right? Yeah, some of the ones that we learned about earlier that don't have law licenses. No, but in Texas, look, you got to pay for stuff some way, right? Texas doesn't have a state income tax. They're very proud of that. But at the end of the day, schools still have to be funded, roads still have to get built, firehouses and everything else, and that's done with property taxes. And the property taxes that we pay in Dallas County, Tarrant County, the bigger counties, the urban counties, is 3% of appraised value, and it moves up every 2 years. They reappraise it every 2 years. So you can imagine.
We're like 1.1%.
Yeah,
Well, I think it's 1%.
1%. So, because I had a house here too, and I was like, man, it's 1/3. It's like facing the Pacific Ocean, but it's 1/3 the tax burden.
And imagine this: we used to be able to write that off here.
I know we did too. We had the
deductions.
salt thing, but we got that ripped out of our hands by, this new administration that I guess they're off to a real cracking start, man. I got to tell you.
But if they made
been
Puerto Rico, you're an idiot. If they made Puerto Rico the 51st state, we would have no problems.
I would love it. We'd have 2 more Democratic senators and probably 3 Democratic Congress folks.
Puerto Rico's, the thing that I always felt was weird about Puerto Rico is that Puerto Ricans have American passports.
Yeah, but we don't
American
get to vote
citizens
if you live on the island.
but they can't vote.
But you can if you're in Florida or Texas or whatever. You can. You just can't vote if you live on the island.
Same thing with Washington D.C. I mean,
Same thing. Yep, it's true.
It's wild. It just makes no
Remember,
logic.
Bob? Me and Bob used to have a men's, adult fast pitch baseball league.
Oh yeah.
And we had a Puerto Rican pitcher on our team named,
He was kick-ass.
named Aramis.
He was a
And
badass.
I think the son of a bitch had lived in the United States for a long time. He didn't speak a word of fucking English.
Well,
So I was the
not
catcher
one
at that
word
time.
of English.
We had to bring in a Spanish speaking catcher when he pitched,
because
just
it was like he couldn't hit.
And I would talk to him because I speak
He was really
Spanish.
good, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, Aramis, how the fuck can you not speak English, man? You've been here for a long time. Oh, it's get there. He had all these excuses.
I
I don't
don't
get
know.
how he didn't.
The
speak
best
English.
story about him is the first time he started complaining with it, he would just bring like this little duffel bag with him, and he was one of the best players. And
Yeah.
I looked at his bag one time, he just had his mitt and a bottle of Fireball. I was like, this is not a real person.
Like a bottle?
Like a bottle.
A
He brought
bottle of
a
Fireball.
bottle of
That's
Fireball.
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, he's obviously a good player.
Oh, he was
so
great. I love
That's
it.
kind of cool.
Our team name was, we were Los Guapos de
Los
los Estados
Guapos.
Unidos. Los Guapos de los Estados Unidos. And we decided it was really funny because we were like, when I took over the team way back when, we were the LA Squires, and we were like this all-white lawyer team in this
Squires,
Mexican fast pitch league.
And now you turned it
Turn
into
it. Now,
La Raza.
La Raza. They've actually won that. They've won the championship 2 years in a
Oh, my
row.
God.
We were not on the team
Of
anymore
course, they
because
kicked
too
you
old.
guys.
but
You guys suck, and they got rid of
They
you.
got rid of us, man. They put us off to pasture.
How else are you going to win the city championship with a couple of
man.
old
I was
white
swinging a hot
guys?
bat there my last season.
was.
I was okay.
Yeah,
Bob was a good manager.
good
Bob
player.
used to get some hits.
that's good. That's good.
They keep lifetime stats. If you go to labl.org,
God help
you can
you.
search for our names and you can see our lifetime
you
stats
need to
year by year.
Scrub it. I'm not kidding.
That was
It's
pretty
about-
good.
You're excited
You can see
about
my
it.
stolen bases
You're
went from
excited about
15
it.
to 0 very quickly.
Wow.
Until I got a pinch runner.
Wow,
Went
you
back
were
up
it.
again.
Oh, man.
Went back up
Oh
again.
gosh, that's cool.
No, but we had a few lawyers on our team that actually Midwin was on that team for a bit.
Yeah.
Like we had a lot
Joe
of good
Barrett,
lawyers.
I think, played with us.
Wow, super. Super.
But yeah, so like you're in this file first mentality in Texas, which is
Yeah.
a little different in California because if they open up a policy limit, it's a different
It's a different
story.
story. Yeah.
What's
Story.
the
Absolutely.
minimum policy in Texas?
The minimum state is 30 per person, a 60 occurrence,
36. That's not bad.
and that's about half the state has that, but 28% of the state has nothing. So only 30% of the state has a policy in excess of 30/60.
And they have their coming and going laws are not as consumer favorable
No,
as they
they're
are in
not.
Texas.
They're not.
Employment law doesn't
You don't
always-
want to get hurt in Texas if you can avoid it, but if you do get hurt, call me, God.
Oh, yeah. Well, so how did you get there? What's your origin story?
Oh my gosh. Well, context matters. So I'm going to give you a little context, and I'll tell you the story. When I was a newly minted lawyer, I was working in New York City. I worked at the oldest law firm on Wall Street. This firm had former partners like Franklin Delano Roosevelt was a partner before he became the governor of New York and then subsequently the president of the United States.
That's an old firm.
They also
Married
had
his cousin, Eleanor.
yeah, and he let's see, there were others. I mean, I don't want to get any of the names wrong, but you get the idea, right? It was a silk stocking, law firm. This is 1990, you guys. I got there, and I was excited. I mean, I was given it a chance to go to a Wall Street firm, do corporate securities and finance work, which is what I thought I wanted to do. I'm more of a business.
Why did you think you wanted to do that?
I was more, the law school I went to, that's what everyone did. We all went out and did corporate work.
Where'd you go to law school?
University of Michigan. Yeah.
One of those highbrow guys.
Yeah. So as a result.
Just a little bit above my law school.
So as a result, everybody that I went to school with was always getting a job at Proskauer, at Wachtell, at Sullivan and Cromwell. I worked for a bit at Sherman and Sterling. I worked at Morrison and Forrester. And then finally I took a real job with Carter Ledyard and Milburn. And when I got there, I got to tell you, man, I quickly realized, I'm not from this world. And I don't know if I'm going to be of this world for terribly long, okay? So a year into my practice in New York, I had a dear, dear friend who is still a dear friend and now works at my firm, who was in Dallas. And look, in 1990 and 91 and 92, Dallas had, some Dallas proper law firms. It had 150, 200 lawyers, but it was considered a legal backwater, quite frankly. It's no longer considered that, but it was at the time. It didn't have any of the national firms there yet. That didn't happen until 2000. And so he called me, and it was March, and it was slushy and lousy and shitty weather. And he goes, "Hey, dude, come on down, man. It's sunny and beautiful down here, of course, in March. If you want to get suckered into moving to Dallas, go in March. And if you don't go in March, go in October. Best time to be there. 72 degrees, sunny." Anyway, I go down there. It's March 30th or something. And I'm like, shit, I don't want to go back to New York. And he goes, "Hey, man, when you get back there, let me see if my firm," he worked at a firm called Gardner & Wynn, "let me see if my firm will interview you." And I'm like, cool. Yeah, that sounds cool. Well, look, I had no ties to New York other than some friends. And
How did you get to New York?
I got hired out of law school. I got hired.
Were your folks in Michigan, or were they in Puerto
No,
Rico?
no. I never lived in Michigan until I showed up for law school. At Michigan, the big firms would all come and recruit, and everybody got a job. Like if you wanted to work at Melvin and Myers, you were going to get a job. If you wanted to work at Mofo, you're going to get a job. If you wanted to work at
What about Fiore Legal?
Skadden Arps, you're going to get
Fiore
a
Legal
job.
hires only the best.
I mean, that law school puts forth those folks, right? And so I was like, oh, cool, I got a job in New York. I'm going to go to Wall Street and I'm going to learn how to be a master of the universe. I just read Tom Wolfe's Bonfire of the Vanity, and I remember thinking, man, that's going to be great. And then I got there and thought, oh, I'm fucked. And so,
How long did you last?
1 year, a year and some change, because I'd been there the summer before, and yada. So my friend said, why don't you talk to the folks here in Dallas? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know, why not? I'll check it out. I talked to the hiring partner at his firm, and he said, come on down, we'll hire you. We got a chance to meet you. I went down and did another interview. You're in. So I said, man, listen, here's the deal. My lease doesn't end until July. And he's like, well, you got to take the bar. This is back before you could wave into bars, right? Yeah, I have taken 3 freaking bar exams because This was all before you could just go, oh, look, I'm licensed in California. Shouldn't I get waived in? This didn't happen back then 25 years ago. So I waited and I studied for the bar and I went to Texas. I took the bar, I passed the bar. And about 6 months into working at that firm, I said to my friend Jim, I said, Jim, this is a chicken fried version of New York City. And he's like, oh, that's a classic, great description, Reyes. I said, well, yeah, that's kind of how I feel, man. It really is kind of that way. He goes, what should we do? I go, I don't know, man. Let's just put our heads down and get through this. One night, I am there at 7-ish. We worked hard. We did.
How many years into practice are you now at this point?
I am 2 years.
Yeah.
And I'm at my office, and it's 7-ish, and the cleaning crew is, moving around, kind of, hey, can we come in, get your trash can? And at that firm, we all had our names on the door. And, my name is Angel Reyes, or in Spanish, Angel Reyes. And the cleaning lady was an immigrant, and she didn't speak English, but she looked at my name and she asked me, ¿Tú hablas español? And I went, yeah, I do. And she's like, oh, and I'm going to say this in English unless you want me to say it in Spanish. She asked me if I could help. And I said, well, help with what? Her son had been in a very bad car accident, and he was at a hospital. Maybe you've heard of it. It's called Baylor Hospital. There's a university attached to it, Baylor University, and it's in downtown Dallas. And I said, you know what? Let me go with you. Let's check it out. So I went with her, and he was in real bad shape. ICU, the whole 9 yards. He could say a few things difficultly. I can see what I can do to help you, right? And so the mom and I left. And I called my friend Jim, and I said, hey, Jim, man, I want to do this case. So here's how naive I was when I was, 27 or 8. I go back to the law firm, and I go to the managing partner, and I say, hey, man, his name was Ed. I said, Ed, I got a great case. And I explained it to him, and Ed goes, Angel, you do know that some of our largest clients are Chubb Insurance, AIG, and he goes, under no circumstances are we touching this case with a 10-foot pole.
Wow.
And I went, well, that's a bummer, because it was like me generating business. I was like so excited. I was so naive and young. And anyway, so he said no. Jim said, you know what, help him anyway. So we sent a letter to the insurance carrier because it was a ranch owner's policy, because it was a ranch vehicle. I didn't know what to expect, but I got a letter back saying, we acknowledge your claim, send us the medical bills. The mom went and got the medical bills, and I sent them. Then I started talking to him, and I went, hey, Jim, this case is going to settle for $300,000, man. It's a $100,000 fee. So he goes, fuck it, we're quitting. He goes, we're quitting. And so he walked in to the managing partner's office and said, hey, man, here's Reyes and I, we're resigning. And he's like, huh? What? Why? He goes, we're out of here, man. We're going to go do our own thing. And so 10 days. I
like your friend. He sounds
so
like
10
a fucking
days
great
later,
guy.
he's a badass. 10 days later, we didn't have like a postal place, right? I then arranged to go pick up the check from the insurance company, and I walked in and I picked it up and I left, and we were so like, okay, we're going to start a firm, and we don't have jobs now, but we got $100,000, right? We have $100,000 fee, and so we knew that lawyers needed trust accounts, right? But what we didn't know is that every freaking bank has one. So we went and found Northern Trust, because it said trust in the name, right? We're like, oh, they'll have trust accounts. And so we go in there, we open an account, and two interesting things happened. One, we were kind of flush. I mean, that was a lot of money to a couple of guys, making 80 grand a year. Like, whoa, 100 grand, that's, So we open our accounts, and we're like, okay, we need an office. So we got like an office, not even as big as this conference room. We split it in half. He was on one side, I was on the other. We wired, this was back when you did your own, we wired our two computers together, you know, so that we'd have a network and a printer out there. And I said to him, hey man, I think there's more people that speak Spanish that need help. And he goes, what do you want to do? I go, I want to go all in. He goes, what's that mean? I said, I want to spend $30,000 for the next 2 months on Univision. From what I'm told, we were the very first legal advertisers on Univision in 1993. That's what I've been told. I had to go down to Miami. I had to present in front of the board of directors for Univision, which at the time was not owned by ABC or whoever the hell owns them now.
NBC owns it.
NBC owns them now. They were just, you know, they were doing their own thing. They had 15 markets. And they said, man, lawyers, we're looking for Ford. We're looking for, you know, Kaiser Permanente. We're like, who are you? And I'm like, well, I'm willing to spend some money. And you ain't got any of them. But most of these ads are shit. And they're like, all right, we're going to give you a shot. So we spent the 30 grand and the phone rang off the hook. We ended up hiring 3 people to answer the phones. There was that much need and no one meeting it, right? And within 6 months, I mean, I should have got like a little scratch off of Univision, right? Because within 6 months, all 15 markets were full of fucking lawyers advertising, man. I was like, oh shit. But that's how it started. It started with that one case.
Wow, that the big law told you not to take because we cannot help this person.
They couldn't. I mean, they didn't say don't take it. They said we can't take it. And so, you know, from there, it's like what an experience. Like, you know, we were successful with her case. Then we go on TV, and all kinds of cases are coming in, and we're trying to find people doctors, and we're doing the best we can, but with a very low knowledge base. I mean, we were trying to learn as we go, and it was challenging to.
Yeah, but you know what? I did the same thing. I mean, you know, went out on my own, didn't know shit. I was super young.
Yeah.
I didn't know better. But ignorance is bliss, man.
Sometimes
you don't know what the fuck you're doing.
No.
You know, I was very successful very early in my career, mostly because I was not scared of anything, because I didn't know anything.
Me too.
And you just bamboozle your way through it, and next thing you know, it's like fake it till you make it, like they say.
For sure.
It was crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, fast forward now. I mean, you had that one client when you took 30 grand and went all in.
Yeah.
How many clients do you serve now? What's that look like?
So, you know, we have grown since then. Oh, it's been 30 years,
Yeah.
okay? So in the last 30 years, we've grown to the point now where we bring on 1,300 to 1,500 new clients every month. Now, they're not all Spanish speakers anymore. Most of the Spanish speakers we had in the 90s, their children speak English. Now, they may also speak Spanish, but they're going to call us and they're going to be like, you know, they may have a name like mine, you know, a Spanish name, Hispanic name, but they're going to speak to us in English. You know, we still have a lot of Hispanic surname clients, but, you know, our client base now is 70-30. 30% can only speak Spanish, 70 is irrelevant. In the mid-90s until about 2002, it was the exact opposite. 70% of our clients could only communicate in Spanish. So it's been kind of fun to watch the maturing of the Hispanic population in Texas. It's near and dear to my heart. You know, I've always felt a real kinship with immigrants. And the main reason is that while I do have the benefit of, I have a U.S. passport because, you know, my family's from Puerto Rico. All Puerto Ricans, no matter where they're born in the world, are U.S. citizens, period, full stop. But I went to school in Puerto Rico from 1st to 5th grade. And when my parents divorced and we left, my sister, mom, and I, to Kansas City,
Wow.
I felt like I was on Mars. And, you know, for what it's worth, yeah, you know, I got picked on, I got messed with, you know, it was a really interesting experience. It's one that I never forgot. And it's one that I couldn't help but resonate when I fell backwards into Texas, backwards into injury work, backwards only because of my name and the fact that I speak Spanish created the foundation of our law firm. And I said, man, what a freaky deal. Like, I would have never predicted that, because when I was 14, man, I was ready to change my name, bro. I mean, I was like, fuck, you know, I don't know how you felt, but man, you know, it was tough enough. All right. I mean, I'm sure people have had harder experiences than I have, but
I didn't really experience too much of it. My dad's Italian from Italy.
okay.
My name is Mauro Fiore,
Yeah,
so I have
Mauro
an
Fiore.
Italian name.
Yeah.
So I didn't experience much of that. My wife always says she did. My wife's name is Alejandra Lopez.
Yeah, I did.
So it's
I did.
she identifies with it.
I'm just grateful. Look, Texas was booming in the 90s. It's booming in the 2000s. It's booming in the 2020s. It's one of the fastest growing metropolitan places in the country. We have 8.3 million in our statistical area now. That is the equivalent of everyone that lives in LA County. I mean, that's a lot of people. We also have an office in Houston, 7.9 million people, and an office in Central Texas, about 5 million in Central Texas. So you can do the math on that. Everything east of Dallas-Fort Worth, you're talking about 21 million Texans. So we feel like those are the, you know, our strongest markets. We're going to stay there. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. We're real proud of the fact that our firm is bilingual. We have 550-ish employees.
Wow.
And I can tell you that at least 300 are fully bilingual. Yeah. So it's kind of cool.
Do you ever think about moving back to Puerto Rico? Because we know a lot of our friends that live there, right? I mean, people like
Tax dodgers.
Yeah. I'm with you, Mauro. Look, the only people that have moved to Puerto Rico that aren't Puerto Rican are buccaneers. They are tax dodgers, and some of them are doing it right. Some of them are doing it wrong. It's about 2,900 to 3,200 total people. It's not even 1/10 of the population of Puerto Rico. They all live in one concertina-wired,
Dorado
community,
Beach.
Dorado Beach. And, I happen to know Dorado Beach. When I was in college, my father lived in Dorado Beach. And in college, I worked in Puerto Rico. It wasn't any fancy work. It was construction work, digging ditches, driving loads of shit all over Puerto Rico. But it's a poor island. It's very difficult to live there. If you're getting a tax advantage, then maybe it's worth it. I would not move back. I don't have any sort of romantic, I look at it for what it is. It's a distressed, poor island with crumbling infrastructure, and very little is going to lift it. It's not going to get better. It's only going to get a little bit worse. Now, that comes from a guy that lived there from 71 or 2 to 77. And honestly, I go back and nothing's changed.
Wow.
I can see the same condos, the same beaches, the same everything. And it's like it stood in time. I mean, it just didn't change. Nothing blossomed. And so while I love Puerto Rico, I respect Puerto Rico, I have to be candid. I will never live there.
You've evolved a lot. I mean, 1970s Puerto Rico hasn't changed, but man, you've lived so many different careers and lives and helped. You've probably helped 1 million people if you do the math. I mean, if you do 1,200 times all their family, 1,200 a month times all their family.
Yeah, I mean, we look at it like this. I think we've settled 75,000 cases in the last 32 years, and the knock-on effects of that. Might be 5 times that, right? Because family members, who knows? We're really proud of helping the people we help. To do this work, you have to, you can't just do it because you're going to make a fee. You do it because, man, those people needed some help, and you got them the help that they needed. You got them in to see some good doctors, and you got them a settlement. And, that's the best that our tort system really offers. If you think about it,
Are you
And-
still doing television and stuff? Like, how are you generating these
Yeah,
1,200
yeah.
cases?
So there's a,
Tell
here-
us how you get 1,200 cases. A
Yeah,
month.
so here's an interesting counterintuitive story, and that is from 1993 to 2016, I spent tens and tens of millions of dollars on regular broadcast media TV. And then in 16, I had a new CMO who was very digitally focused. He came from the digital world, and he's like, "Man, let me run some stuff. Let me see what I can do," because we were still so heavily dependent on the TV ads ringing, making the phone ring.
What's the name of your firm in Texas?
In Texas, Angel Reyes and Associates.
Angel Reyes.
Yeah. And so I said, all right, Eric, I'll give you a shot. A year later, he came to me and said, all right, here's the proof. All right. We got 100 cases that month, and it cost you $260,000 on TV. All right. And we got 100 on Google. All right. And it cost you $180,000. So what do you want to do? You want to keep spending on broadcast media or not? And I was like, I just had this weird intuition, like a lot of people aren't watching broadcast television anymore. My younger people than me, it's YouTube, it's they're streaming, it's whatever, right? And I thought, you know what, I'm going to go all in. And last year we spent $24 million on Google, and we spent zero on broadcast TV.
Wow.
Because we don't believe in it anymore. You can't attribute it. You can't track it the way you can Google. And it's not just Google. It's LSAs, of course. It's paid. We're agnostic. If a lead generator can bring us cases for what we internally can bring them, we'll buy. We're buyers. Our organic, we'll bring a couple cases a month, just people find on our website that heard about us, et cetera. But our big wheelhouse is definitely Google.
Wow.
And we're really, I'm never looking back. I mean, I'm not suggesting don't do TV, but I just don't think it can deliver the way Google and LSAs can. I just don't.
I mean, I do agree with you there.
Yeah. Well, interesting. Not everyone does. It depends on your ego. Like, wait, I'm on TV. I'm Sweet James. I'm kidding. Sorry, Steve.
No, just fascinating. Well, Angel, thank you for coming on the show. I mean,
You're very welcome.
So how do
man.
people find you? What's the easiest route?
Oh, the easiest way to find me is on the website or on the web anyway. Just Google Angel Reyes Attorney, and I promise there'll only be 2 people that'll show up. One, I'll be the top 3, and the next one is a guy named Angel Reyes from the show Mayans. He's the lead actor, and damn it, he took my name, and I'm so pissed because for 20 years, nobody else even popped up. First 3 pages, and now Angel Reyes from the Mayans is over here on the right because he's got an IMDb and all that.
How many people are doing negative keywords or buying your name, though? I bet you if I Google right now, somebody's trying to buy your name.
Of course
here in
they
Santa
are.
Barbara.
And you know what? Here's the funny thing, guys.
I'm gonna try this.
I
got my phone
know,
on me.
look, I feel like I'm in the forefront of what's called competitor conquesting, when people are bidding on other trademarks and other people's names. It's totally copacetic. Google's okay with it. There's only 3 states that aren't, Florida being one, North Carolina being another, and forgive me for forgetting the last one. But I've written 2 law review articles and went to the Texas Ethics Board against Jim Adler and won.
The hammer.
And of course, our good friend Glenn Lerner just learned the hard
Also
way.
the hammer. There's 2 hammers.
Just learned the hard way that.
Wasn't that an Arizona learner?
No, Lerner is in
He's
Arizona,
everywhere
but
now,
he
yeah.
just learned from the Ninth Circuit that everybody can bid on everybody's name because it's not a violation of trademark law. So many lawyers are so confused about this, but it's really
It was
simple.
Arizona. It was a federal court decision. I saw
Yeah,
in
it was
October
11th Circuit. It
2024.
was
You can
11th.
bid on people's names?
Of
Yes.
course.
You just can't trick the consumer. You can't write
yeah.
like.
It's
So I
great.
called somebody out recently where they were bidding on my name.
You can't-
But they copied our website. So
You
it looked like you
can't
were
do that.
calling my law firm.
That's
That was a problem.
That's a problem. But
Now, this
most
is Reyes with an E, right?
If you watch previous episodes of Bourbon of Proof, Mauro
but-
bids on people's
yeah,
names
but-
minus one letter or a
but
different
wait,
number or
but-
one
not
number
Reyes
off.
with an A,
No,
like
here's the thing.
R-A-Y-E-S? Reyes?
Ray, yeah, no, shush. So, you can, look, at the end of the day, Google solved this in 2012. Lawyers were late to the game. I started doing this in 2014 and, of course, got sued and got taken before the ethics board in Texas. And I'll never forget when I showed up, I
Sued
went
for what?
Adler said it was unethical to bid on someone's trademark or name, and that you were trying to swindle or steal his cases. And I remember going down there and seeing the ethics board, and I thought, holy shit, everybody's over 70. And I went, they'll never understand this. Within 5 minutes, every one of those guys go, well, this is just a new form of advertising on the internet. Don't hotels do this? Don't car rental companies do this? And it was like, I was like, kick ass. These old dudes got it.
Yeah.
And so they shut it down and
So
dismissed.
he's also was our friend Lauren Contessa.
Oh,
he was
yeah.
also messing with Lauren because he was trying to say she was doing the same thing.
No, not me.
No, not you. No, Jim Adler.
Yeah.
The hair,
So
not you, not
Lauren
you.
and I are friends.
I love Lauren. She's
And
great.
I think that Lauren's doing a really good job.
She just donated, Lauren Bond, yeah.
Yeah.
So she just donated like $8 million to like a school in Oklahoma or something. Had a big endowment.
Wow.
No, she almost gives like 50% back to a lot of charity. The stuff that
Wow,
she does. Yeah.
good for her. She and I had been
that
through.
sales rep named Kayla that works for her?
Yeah, she does. Kayla works for her.
Leo-
She was in our office the other day.
Leo's her husband.
I know.
Yeah.
Kayla.
I'll tell you something about what Kayla brought to us was Injury RX, and I'll tell you.
Oh, I love Injury
I'll
RX.
tell you, man, the telehealth ER visits are game changers. It makes your client's case better. And we're so glad to have it now.
Yeah,
I'm glad you're with them.
Oh my gosh. But as far as like Laura's been through the wars just like me. She and I have been co-defendants. And then I got out because the
Oh,
lawyers.
you were involved in that one? That was the
Oh
one?
yeah. Oh yeah.
I can remember reading it because we were doing work together, and I looked back to see some of those lawsuits to figure out what it was about.
Yeah.
Just educating myself
Yeah.
on the space. Like, yeah, this is BS. Yeah.
Yeah, so in the Fifth Circuit, basically said it's BS for lawyers, but for white label lead generators, let's be careful with confusion because, like, for us, it's like Reyes law. Nobody's going to think that's,
It's just a disclaimer. It's just like, was the consumer confused? Did you
right.
think it was this
No,
law firm?
right.
No.
And when it says law, they're generally not.
Yeah.
But man, lawyers are so funny when
Territorial and egos.
They are. It's about a bunch of ego-driven craziness. But we've been through a few wars, and we don't mind going through a few more. That's just the nature of the beast. Yeah. We're happy warriors.
Well, Angel, thank you for coming on this episode of Bourbon of Proof. We're here in Santa Barbara for the Even Up
Yeah,
Summit.
glad to be here.
We hope to see you more in California, my friend, during
I
the
would
rebuild,
love
whatever.
to, man.
Nice
I
to
would
see you, man.
love to. You know that.
great to
I
see
would
you again.
love to. Thank
So
you.
send lawyers, guns, money, and when he fits on the
and
table.
the other.
If you want to get it, we'll put it on the Bourbon of Proof store. You can buy it at Mauro's little creep shop.